The South African Weather Service is predicting another temperature drop. South Africa is poised for a dramatic transition from the calm skies of winter to an influx of rain and gusty winds, this as a cold front approaches. So today, the cold front is expected to intensify. Scattered showers are likely along the Western and the Southern Cape, with rainfall probabilities climbing to about 60% in regions like Worcester and even parts of the Overberg. But perhaps for the latest on this and more, we're going to be joined by SABC News meteorologist Azwitakadzi Tuwani. Azwi, a very good morning. I dare say good morning because we know what we're bracing for. But beyond, this weather phenomenon and the fact that it is winter, tell us a little bit more about what exactly South Africans can expect from today onwards.
All right, we do have a series of cold fronts. Currently, we do have the first cold front that is sitting over the interior of Western Cape, bringing isolated showers for today over Western Cape to some parts of Northern Cape, going to Eastern Cape. But moving to tomorrow, which is Thursday, we're also going to see snowfall just around Lesotho. That is coupled with 60% chance of showers that is forecast over Eastern Cape to some parts of Free State, again, Northern Cape and Western Cape, with very cold conditions behind that cold front. You can see that the southern half of South Africa will be covered with cold conditions, but the northern half will not be affected. That includes Gauteng, going to Limpopo, Northwest, and again Mpumalanga. We'll start to see the effects of this current cold front on Friday. And on Friday, that's when another cold front makes landfall over Western Cape. And this one, it is expected to be much stronger than the current one that we are facing. It is going to bring more rainfall over the southern parts, including Western Cape, Eastern Cape, also touching some parts of Free State.
All right, Azwi, thank you for explaining that, because, I mean, we've seen and experienced extreme weather events in the past few weeks in South Africa, devastating floods happening in the Eastern Cape. And if we're shining a spotlight on that region, what should residents in places like the Eastern Cape really be paying close attention to as we're speaking?
Okay, so what really happens is whenever we receive rainfall and some areas get flooded, the soil gets saturated. It means it absorbs enough water and it won't be able to absorb anymore. And from there, that is where we start to have flood. With each and every rainfall that starts to fall, it will start to flow and overflow its channels. So such things are possible. So possibilities are disruptive rainfall over Eastern Cape and disruptive snowfall over the high-lying areas of Eastern Cape. So people need to be alert for flooding and again be alert for very cold conditions.
All right, Azwi, thank you for speaking to that as well, because we also saw snow falling unusually in some parts of the country. Perhaps you could explain the reasons for this. But even if we look at last week's snowstorms in relation to how it cannot alone be blamed on climate change. I mean, there are various other factors that also come into play. Unpack that a little bit further for us.
All right, so when a cold front approaches the country or enters the country, it brings with it moisture and cold air. So at some instances, you would find that there is a high pressure system behind it, which is quite strong. And it also pushes in a lot of moisture. And in that, we will have lots of snowfall over some areas. But looking at the previous one, what really happened was the high pressure system behind it was not that strong. But again, it was able to push in cold air and push in lots of moisture because the temperatures over South Africa are already broken. We've already seen an intense cold front. And this one, again, that was sitting, it was also not that strong, but because the temperatures are very low, so they continue to deepen when any cold front comes in. And that was, as a result, that's why we saw so much snowfall over the high-lying areas of Eastern Cape, also moving to some parts of Western Cape.
All right, thank you for that, because as I mentioned earlier on, it is winter, and we're wondering if this cold front is a one-time phenomenon. Does it signal the start of more intense weather patterns for South Africa as the year continues, as the season continues? What can you assure us on that front?
Well, this is not the first one, and this is not the biggest one. We've had the biggest one previously. So the biggest one broke the temperatures, and the temperatures are struggling to rise to normal temperatures that we normally experience. So our temperatures, mainly like in Gauteng, they are remaining in the high teens. So as we continue, we even get weak cold fronts like the current one, which continue to deepen our temperatures. Like on Friday in Gauteng, we're expecting our temperatures to be in the high teens. So going forward with the one that's approaching on Friday, that one, it is quite stronger. So this will continue going throughout July, and also we also expect similar conditions to happen heading to August.
All right, so Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, obviously just you speaking to that, and we're looking at the Western Cape with unusually heavy rainfall as well. If people are going to be best prepared ahead of this cold spell, what are the do's and don'ts?
Well, the do's are please do dress up warm and do make sure that you watch Morning Live, including the whole of SABC News, because we are going to keep you updated, giving you all the information. You need to make sure that you dress up warm, you dress your kids warm. And if you are to start any fires, do make sure that you control them. And when you go to sleep, make sure that you switch them off, because that may cause some other form of catastrophe. And also looking at your driving, make sure that you have enough distance with the car that is ahead of you, because wet roads, those will mean that it is extremely difficult to step on very hard brakes.
All right, Azwi, thank you for joining us, and thank you for that succinct update. Of course, we are monitoring all those developments here at the SABC as it continues. SABC News meteorologist Azwitakadzi Tuwani, of course, this morning speaking about that cold front alert, what it really means for some parts of the country, and of course, what else we should be anticipating in relation to that.